more. Kate, that's not a cool friend. I don't like that at all. Did they plan that? No.
This is SportsCentre.
Hey, I'm Marissa Roberto, and we've been talking Oilers all week. And there's only one place to start yet again today, after another embarrassing loss last night. Yeah, they fell to the Sharks 3-2. They now dropped 4 straight and are sitting 2-9-1 on the year with 5 points. Tied with the Sharks for last in the league. Now joined by our Edmonton reporter Ryan Rashog. And Ryan, let's get right into this. What's the latest you're hearing with the Oilers and Jay Woodcroft?
Do not expect a coaching change with the Edmonton Oilers today or tomorrow, at least until their current 3-game road trip is up. My sense is that the Oilers are willing to stand pat despite last night's loss to the San Jose Sharks and let Jay Woodcroft and his staff continue on and close out this road trip Saturday night against the Seattle Kraken. Things are white hot in Edmonton, and for good reason. The level of underachievement by this group is almost unfathomable. So many picking them as Stanley Cup favorites. Just a couple of wins this season, tied for dead last in the standings, and having dropped a game last night against the San Jose Sharks on a night where the Oilers seemed to be nervous, definitely didn't bring their best stuff. They're desperately searching for answers, but not getting performances from enough players, flat out. And so the pressure is squarely on Jay Woodcroft and his staff to try and come up with some solutions, find some answers, find a way to squeeze more out of this group. It's quite likely that if they aren't able to do that Saturday in Seattle, that the change will be made at that time. But for now, the staff remains in place to try and salvage a couple of points on this road trip. The other side of the argument, some would make that with the goaltending the Oilers have gotten this season and the lack of production from their top-end guys, that would sink any coach. But the situation is getting to critical mass. Something has to give. It's a results-oriented business. Jay Woodcroft knows that as well as anybody. If he doesn't get some from this team soon, it will be over.
Ryan Rashog, always insightful. Thank you so much for joining us. The Leafs take on the Flames tonight, and although both teams have had their fair share of issues this season, at least neither of them had lost to San Jose. I'm just kidding, Oilers fans. We can laugh about this, yeah? The Flames are able to pick up a pretty gritty win on Tuesday against Nashville, and have strung together 2 wins in a row for the first time this season. But while the team was celebrating their first little streak of the year, all eyes in the hockey world were on their $84 million man, Jonathan Huberdeau, who was stapled to the bench for every second of the third period of that game, ending with just over 14 minutes of ice time over 2 periods. We all know the bad news when it comes to Huberdeau. He had 115 points over 80 games in 2021, and since then he's got 61 points in 91 career games with Calgary. As last night's starter for the Rangers would say,
not the best.
The good news is that Huberdeau seems to be in decent spirits about the whole thing. The main news in Leafs land is that they officially picked their scapegoat of the season. Kinda shocked it took so long, but congratulations to John Klingberg. Jake McCabe looked ready to return to the lineup from a groin injury yesterday, which resulted in Klingberg being the 7th defenseman. And McCabe will be in the lineup tonight, with Klingberg dealing with an injury, so he'll be out tonight. Another guy looking to bounce back would be the young Joe Woll, who'll get the start tonight despite a tough outing Wednesday night. The Leafs are in tough during this stretch of the schedule, as they've got the Flames and Canucks back-to-back at home, before heading to Sweden to take on Detroit and the Wild. And with how tight the Atlantic is, every point counts right now. And those of you in the Leafs region can watch the Flames and Leafs tonight on TSN. Coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern, and a Friday night Leafs game? Come on, that's a little spicy. Alright, it's Friday, so you know what that means. It's time for some FanDuel Fast Facts action. When we last played, I set a new record for the season, but also at that time, my producer gave me actual facts line by line and not full-on paragraphs. So the record is 6, and if we're looking at this script, look at this one. Just look at the size of that paragraph. My producer is set to sewer me today, but let's see. So let's put 40 seconds on the play clock and see how many of these betting nuggets I can get through to help you with Sunday's slate. Okay, so let's start the clock, and I already see non-capitalizations on things like Germany. Are you joking, bro? Sunday morning, the Colts take on the Patriots in Germany. It will be the 3rd NFL game in Germany. Indy is favored by 1.5 or 1.5. The favorites won and covered the previous 2 games. The Patriots are one of 4 teams to be undefeated in international games. They are 3-0 all-time, covering all 3 games. The Browns, 234.8 total yards per game allowed, and Ravens 262.6 total yards per game allowed, ranked 1st and 2nd in the NFL in total defense in 2023. The Ravens allowed 13.8 points per game, 1st in the NFL, and the Browns are 17.4. The total for Sunday's game between the 2 teams is 38.5. That was one whole fact. Are you joking? The number 1 total defense, Cleveland, is 9.4 versus the number 1 scoring defense in regular season games since 1970 merger. Week 10 or later, the Ravens are favored by 6.5 on Sunday. Joe Burrow has 14. Okay, just please. Please. That third line, that third fact was like 4 facts. And it had tons of numbers with decimal points. Like, this is an actual joke at this point. The definition of a joke. First of all, I don't want to say I struggled so much with the third fact. I think I nailed the third fact. It was just extremely long. So, because it took me so long to get to the third fact, I didn't get to the last 2 facts or last 2 paragraphs about the Cincy game and the Packers-Steelers game. But you can watch all 4 of those games that I was supposed to mention on CTV and TSN this Sunday. It all starts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on TSN, as is the Frankfurt game between Indy and New England. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, we've got Ravens-Browns, Texans-Bengals, and Packers-Steelers on CTV, TSN Plus, and CTV2. A whole new level of petty. Time now for my favorite segment and yours, Why We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
And I mention the bisque and this all the time. I love being petty and when other people are petty. It's probably my favorite thing in sports. And when this Peruvian soccer team won their championship on their rival's field, the opposing team reached a level of petty I can only tip my hat to. All right. Game's over. Selly's starting. Here we go. Oh. Not the in-game offs being part of the petty play. We love this. How do we get this kind of petty in North American sports? Like, this needs to happen here too. Let's go, lights off. We don't want to see the team Selly. That's just brilliant. And we finish with maybe the greatest giveaway in the history of sports giveaways, as the Detroit Red Wings are giving away Zamboni gravy boats as a giveaway for Thanksgiving this year. Oh my gosh, that's glorious. Wait, how do we get our hands on one of these? Even though, you know, our Thanksgiving is over. The holiday season is just around the corner. Everyone needs this. I don't care, I'm not a Red Wings fan. You can tape something else over it. Somebody in Detroit, get me one of these, please. Time now for the CFL preview powered by FanDuel. And we've got a pair of great games this weekend with a ticket to the Grey Cup on the line. Let's start in the East, where the Argos host the Alouettes. And this will be the 4th time these 2 division rivals will square off this season, with the Argos taking the first 3, but 2 of those 3 were 1-score games. Which makes us a little surprised to see that the Argos are massive favorites on Saturday. Yeah, we know they're a juggernaut, but 10.5 points in a playoff game is a lot, and that's all we're gonna say. Out west, we got an absolute banger of a game between what has been by far the 2 best teams in the West all season, the Bombers and the Lions. Now, as good as the Lions have been this year, are we really gonna doubt a Bombers team that has won 2 of the last 3 Grey Cups and made 3 straight? And it looks like the odds makers agree with us, as they are 4.5 point favorites on Saturday. And you can watch this doubleheader of CFL action Saturday on TSN. It all starts at 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific between the Alouettes and Argos. And at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, it's the Lions and Bombers. That's all for today. We'll see you back here Monday. Have a great weekend.